Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS podcast for Monday, June 26th. That's right. I'm Howard Bender, doing a half-assed job filling in for John and Pemba and James Grande. So we needed to up it a little bit more here on a nice little 6-game Monday slate. So we've brought in Colby Conway, somebody who actually knows what he's talking about and doesn't, rely on cracking stupid jokes the entire time to deflect from everything else. Colby, what's going on, man? How are you?
No, I'm doing well. Glad to be filling in. I have a little bit of an issue with James from filling in for me on the pod earlier this week. So I think I'm gonna step in and do a quarter of the job that he does. I want him to feel good about taking some time off, which how much time he trashes me for my vacations and trips that I always take.
Well, listen, he trashes you for your trips. I trash you for your take. So you're in a lose-lose situation here, Colby. I don't know. We've been trying to get you to quit for years and years, and yet you're still here with Fantasy Alarm. What's up? You can't take the hint.
No, it's like I told James, I'm on a very player-friendly contract. I've been grandfathered in. It's been quite a while now, so it's a very player-friendly deal. I almost equate it to I got signed I guess I was still in college when I started, to like one of those long 13-year deals. And I'm just, I'm in the back part of it. I'm in the twilight of it. The team wants to get rid of me. The fans want to get rid of me. But it's just from a cost perspective, it just doesn't make sense. So here I am for a couple more years riding it out into the sunset.
He keeps renewing that player option. He keeps picking it up. We don't do nothing. He just keeps doing it. No, listen, man. Yeah, you and I, God, we've been together for almost 10 years now, probably, on Fantasy Alarm. Long time. So it's great. So we never get a chance to really do this. We don't get a legit chance to chop up and talk a little MLB DFS. So it's just a 6-game slate. So we'll probably deviate from the normal path that we usually take. We'll do pitching, infielders, outfielders. We'll try and set you up a pretty little lineup on DraftKings, stuff like that. But overall, I just kind of want to open things up here with a little bit of how's the weekend in baseball for you? That Braves Reds series super lived up to the hype. So did Dodgers, Astros, a couple of great things for baseball. We had Cubs Cardinals in London. So, there's a lot of action going on over the weekend, man. Did you get a chance to absorb it all?
I did. Got to see the Ellie De La Cruz offensive display that he got to put on. That Reds Braves series was awesome. And then, from a dynasty perspective, you could say that LSU series too, getting to see some of the big boys in that team and how they're looking. It was a full weekend of baseball, college, pro, a lot to like what was going on there. So, every weekend that we have baseball is going to be a good weekend, but this past one, just a little bit better.
It's a little bit better, a little bit. All right. Well, let's kind of ball into this slate here. First and foremost, that I always look at every slate, no Coors Field. So the idea of a 25-run Angels explosion once again is probably not going to happen. That was some display of power on Saturday's game. That was kind of ugly. But let's see if we can't find ourselves a little bit of a stack. Talk to me here about your thoughts on, just the overall slate here. We always usually started off with pitching, so we might as well, dive into that. But, the guys always usually hit the over-unders just to see what's going on around around the way where we want to kind of invest our money. I think we've kind of talked about it a little bit here, but 9 runs for Cincinnati, Baltimore, 9 runs for Detroit, Texas. They're still setting the lines for the other couple of games, but I'm seeing a couple of 8s, 8.5. So it looks like offensively, Reds, Orioles, and I'll say the Rangers side of that Texas Detroit game. I'm not going to say the Detroit side of it. That's kind of where we want to be offensively. Are we going to be able to find the pitching in order to get those big bats in?
Yeah, I think so, but I think we're going to have to pay up for it too, because when you look at it, I was teasing the idea of Trevor Williams against Seattle. If you really need a budget arm, that Seattle team strikes out so darn much. We'll talk about another team that strikes out a ton here too, and I'll keep it short there. But Williams seems to be a guy for Washington. If you're anti-Seattle bats, you could look at him as a cost-saving option. But to me, I think this slate comes down to 3 big pitchers and kind of how you fall into it. Maybe a 4th, depending on how you feel about Justin Verlander. But pitching is going to be interesting tonight. I have some thoughts about outfielder when we get there in terms of what to do. But pitching, to me, with one of the spots, it's Spencer Strider or bust. That Minnesota team strikes out an insane amount. Are they going to run into a ball every now and again? Sure. They'll hit a home run. Strider lets up a couple of home runs. And the big thing with Strider, he's finally, I don't even want to say throwing. He's trying a third pitch, because if you're a 2-pitch starter, an adjustment has to be made. And it's either you need to adjust to your future role in the bullpen, or you're going to make an adjustment and you're going to at least use a third pitch, even if it's just a show me, just to give the batter something that they maybe have to think about. And he's been doing that a little bit with the changeup. I think he's going to be just fine. And if there's any time that we can really hammer down on a Strider double-digit strikeout effort, it's got to be against the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, Twins striking out, 27% of the time against right-handed pitching right now on the season. They have been big strikeout victims there. I mean, Strider, though, it's 12-6 on DK, which does make it a little bit of an inhibitor as far as that goes. I mean, listen, I'm fine with locking him in and saying, all right, we're going to, kind of pick around and see for that. But that means that we automatically have to pay down. I don't want to pay down to Trevor Williams. I don't feel comfortable with that, only for the sake of the fact that I do believe in Luis Castillo tonight. And I like Luis Castillo in this matchup here against Washington. I know that Castillo has had his bumps in the road, but you know what? So is Strider. So is every other pitcher there. So I look at this and I say, how far down am I willing to go for pitching here? And I don't want to go Williams. I could go into the Reed Detmers range there, which, 7,300 on DraftKings. I love this matchup here for Detmers. The White Sox have been a sink or swim type of team, and they've kind of, been a little soft against all pitching basically over the past week. Can we go down to Detmers? Is that the pairing that we're going to want to use?
I think you can. And, outside of the player-friendly contract that I have here, I don't really make the rules, but Detmers at home is something you have to do. And it's kind of the same as Luis Castillo. Generally speaking, Castillo at home, very, very good. Washington's offense better against lefties and righties. So if you want to save that 1,600 to go down to Castillo, you certainly can from Strider. Detmers is my favorite value arm on the slate. He's good at home. As bad as the Twins are in terms of striking out, the White Sox are just as bad against left-handed pitching. It's absolutely absurd. There's only one guy in that lineup who even has a pulse against lefties. He's one of my preferred plays if we don't go Detmers. But Detmers, I think, is the perfect SP2 in this slate. And if you compare him with Strider, I don't think it's crazy for 20-plus strikeouts between those two guys. I mean, it's dream matchups. It's like the stars are aligning for these two in these matchups.
All right, so then I'll tell you what. So let's put Strider and Detmers in there for the time being right now. I also believe that Luis Castillo, if we do need that $1,600, we can pay down to Castillo from Strider. I don't necessarily know how much we're going to lose on the overall front. Other pitchers available tonight. I don't want to go Sonny Gray against Atlanta, especially if Atlanta's coming off of this big series here where they're swinging the bats huge right now. Against the Reds. So I don't want to use that. Verlander, Heaney, it's kind of a gray area for me. I don't love what I've seen out of Justin Verlander, and I normally hate Andrew Heaney, but this matchup against Detroit looks super soft.
Yeah, I would probably lean Verlander. The strikeout upside is there against that Milwaukee offense. Detroit hasn't been, I'll put this with a caveat on this, they haven't been half bad against lefties. Not great, but they haven't been half bad. Heaney just 5 or fewer strikeouts in all but one of his last 6 starts. I've really locked in on pretty much the Strider Castillo as your top dog. And to be honest, I know I hate to write people or the majority of the slate off. I've locked in on Detmers as SP2 in this one. It's just that White Sox team is so damn bad.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I have no desire to go to Cease against the Angels, who are swinging the bat super good right now. Matthew Boyd against Texas, not in a million years. Trevor Williams, like you said earlier on, you could, right? If you're setting like multiple GPP lineups, then maybe you want to take a splash there. I don't like Colin Rea. I don't like Irvin or Williamson. So I think, I'm with you. If you're going to pay up Strider Castillo, you can go with either one. If you're going to go, middle of the road here, Detmers is the lock-in at 7,300. Just a great price. Great price. Now the question is can we afford to have this situation here? We're always going to have to take a look at. Before we continue after the with the hitting here, obviously don't forget to like and subscribe to the Fantasy Alarm and the Better Sports Network YouTube page here. Like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And if you guys haven't heard yet by now, we do have our fantasy football draft guide that is out. That has been released. It's the first step of that. We're having more content rolling out as we go through. You can get that going to fantasyalarm.com/draft guide. You can pick it up on its own for $26.99. You can get it free with an all-pro subscription. And with that all-pro subscription, use that promo code Howard. That'll take 50% off your first 6 months. Again, fantasyalarm.com/draft guide. All right, Strider, Castillo. We're waiting to see who we're going to pair with Detmers. It's time to go into the infield here. And we might as well start with the worst position in the world here. We never like to deal with it. It's the catcher position. I mean, my problem is obviously I love Adley Rutschman. I love him against a left-handed pitcher in Williamson, but I don't think that I'm going to have to be able to afford that. There is one particular pay down who I definitely love, even though he's really not that cheap.
Yeah.
Can you guess?
If you have the money, it's Rutschman. The guy I like is Jonah Heim. Anytime Texas faces a lefty, Heim is just the catcher that goes into my lineup. It just makes the most sense. Such a good spot for him. And if you're stacking Rangers and you can get the catcher on the good side of his splits, I feel like you have to do it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I love locking in Jonah Heim here also. I'm a big fan. You know, I've said it all along as far as the way this Texas Rangers lineup has been. The reason that they're so potent, that they're so strong, is because Josh Young and Jonah Heim have been hitting out of the 5 and 6 spot. You know, how many teams do you see around MLB that have those locked in top 4? We see a bunch of them. It's the teams like the Rays and the Rangers who are seeing production out of their 5 and 6 hitters, and that's kind of where I want to lean on that. You know, I kind of want to, you know, if we're going to go with Jonah Heim, then I almost want to just automatically pair him up with Josh Young at third.
You have to. He's the top play. I know we'll talk about him and everyone's favorite segment at this part at the end of this, but yeah, you got to throw Jung in there. He's so darn good. Crushes lefties. Matthew Boyd stinks. I mean, there's your math equation for the day. You know, good player, bad pitcher, good production. Simple.
But this does put us, and here you go. This does put us in a little bit of a constrictive moment here for our hitting, because you use Heim and Young. It's 4,500, 4,700. We're already now down to less than 3,500 per player. So, I mean, we might as well, as we're just going to kind of go through position by position here and find the deepest values. You know, as you've looked through this slate, any position that you find that you can have, like, you know, really just, you know, rock solid value under $3,000 type players?
I really like some value in outfield in terms of getting it under $3,000. It's going to be closer to that average amount. One of the cheaper outfielders I like on the slate, and we're going to go back to the stack, but Leody Taveras hitting at the bottom of the order, let him get on base, come around for the big boys up top. It puts him in a very good spot. He's been producing well of late, even hitting out of that 9 hole. And if you look in a couple of recent games, the fantasy production has been there for him. I do believe he's 3,300. So right around our average, but take a look at the game log. I mean, we're getting 17 points, 10 a few games ago, and his price hasn't moved at all. So Taveras is a guy I think is one of the cheaper outfielders that you can get on this slate. If we have the money, I'd love to get Nick Senzel. He's slumping of late when you look at his numbers, but it's because since he hasn't faced a ton of left-handers of late, and if you go look on our Fantasy Alarm, the today's lineup page, and just go to that little verse lefties thing with Nick Senzel and wait till you see the eye-popping numbers that are there for him. So Senzel is a guy I'm very big on for this Monday slate.
Okay. Now, how do you feel about leaving the guy down there by himself? Like, I mean, is this a one-off type thing? They both hit 9th in the lineup. You know, I've always been, and I don't know about you, I've always been a mini stack guy. I always love pairing guys up 2, 2, 2, and 2. But again, if we're going with Jonah Heim and Josh Young right there, like, you know, I don't want to overinvest too much in the Rangers, although it's a fine team to overinvest in. but it might have to be a one-off there. What about with the way that the Reds put their lineups together there? You've got Senzel, who's batting at the bottom. We could try to, squeeze him out with like TJ Friedel and hope for some lefty on lefty crime and get that 1-9 matchup. Although I don't even know if Friedel's going to be in the game starting up against the lefty.
This feels dirty. Okay. I'm prefacing this before I say it.
I love it.
Kevin Newman has a very realistic shot of leading off. He's been leading off against lefties of late. He's going to be on the best side of his splits. We're all going to love the bats after him in the lineup for the most part. Why would we not consider the leadoff guy? Again, obviously, we're looking at this. We don't know the lineups yet, but if you look at the past couple starts against lefties, he's been at the top. They bat him leadoff. I mean, he's very cheap. And what was it, 2,800?
2,800. We would be using him as our first baseman.
Well, now we can't use Shohei Ohtani as our first baseman. So
we could use Shohei Ohtani in the outfield if we got that kind of cash lying around. I mean, do you want to go so dirt cheap at second and try? I mean, I would love to see us try. I'd love to see you try right now. Right now. Come on, let's start with second base. Let's just go to second base here and try and play around with this. I mean, there definitely we could go Caballero.
Could.
He's going to be in that Seattle lineup. Where do they usually bat him near the bottom also. Well, this is a terrible lineup for top range hitters.
Drury, if Drury wasn't so darn expensive, he'd be the easy plug-in because he's absolutely mashing right now.
Yeah, but we could go. So I guess JP Crawford, if he bats leadoff here, Seattle's taking on who tomorrow?
Washington. Today? Trevor Williams.
Yeah. So it could be Crawford.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Williams is more susceptible. Yeah, lefty's hitting 293 and OPS right around 820 with a 350 WOBA. And then you look at a guy like Crawford, 258 against righties, hitting 260 at home. Better against righties than lefties. Crawford wouldn't be bad if it's going to come down to how you feel about the Seattle bats. Like Teoscar Hernandez is a guy I do like too. He's starting to come alive a bit of late. I don't know if we'll be able to afford him here, but he's one to consider. But Crawford, he's going to be at the top. And if Seattle ever just stop striking out nearly every other plate appearance, and if they can get out of Minnesota territory, being at the top of the order, near the top of it with Crawford, might not be a bad investment. And Trevor Williams, just simply put, isn't all that great. So
do you see how gross this lineup is? Can you see this? I'm doing the old screen share here. I mean, this is probably one of the grossest lineups I've seen. Heim, Kevin Newman, Caballero, Young, Crawford, Taveras, Senzel. Still doesn't afford us the ability to get Shohei Ohtani in here, but Julio Rodriguez, Cedric Mullins, Lewis Robert, Spencer Steer. Those are the that's the range where we'd be eyeballing here.
I'm a little cold on Steer. His numbers against lefties have faded here as the season's gone on after a hot start against them. So looking at this here, what do we have, 5,200?
Yeah.
That's what I'm tracking over here as well. So, I mean, I've faded on Steer. If you don't play Detmers, Luis Roberts a play you want to look at as he crushes lefties, but we're not going to go against our own hitter or our own pitcher here. So what we could do.
Are you watching what I'm doing? I'm clicking around here while you're talking.
No, I'm trying not to. I'm trying not to be influenced as I've
already gone down from Strider to Castillo, which then enables us to get Ohtani into the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, if you do that, you can throw Ohtani in. There's 400, but there's also, what if at second base, who do you like better, Caballero or Crawford?
I don't like either of them particularly. Okay. I mean, I'd prefer Crawford if he's going to be in the leadoff spot.
Yeah, if Crawford hits leadoff, I'm fine leaving him in there. But with that money we saved, we drop Strider down to Castillo. What if we bump Caballero up to Matt McClain? So we get another Cincy in there. So now we're basically bottom third of the order with Senzel. And then as long as Newman hits leadoff, we got the top part of the lineup with Newman and McClain. And then we still have 47. We should have 4,700 for the last outfielder.
You are
And that could
correct.
give us Santander against a homer-prone lefty, and Santander is good against lefties.
See, I like that. I like that a lot. That took a little bit of maneuver. Yeah, I mean that lineup was just looking so grotesque with the other guy. Like really, that other lineup was looking foul. So this one here definitely has some much more promise in the sense that yeah, I like getting Santander in there. I love having a little slice of Baltimore against Williamson. You got nice, added here with Newman, McLean. Senzel gives you 9-1-2 in your stack. I like that. You got 5 and 6 with Jonah Heim and Josh Young. Tavares is at the bottom. Crawford's at the top. Damn. I might have to enter this sucker, huh?
It's one of those. It's a beautiful thing when you see like trash to. That wasn't trash. It was bagged up sitting by the trash can. That was what that first part of that lineup was. It was trash adjacent, and now it's definitely looking a little bit better. And on this 6-game slate, I mean, when you look at it, there's really only a couple of offenses in this game worth investing in. So like, there's going to be heavy ownership in these in this like the Texas lineup and the Baltimore lineup, and honestly, and the Cincy lineup. That Cincy Baltimore game is going to be the most stacked one because it's two bad lefties against lineups that can dominate lefties with some pop. So there's going to be the stuff there. And like we talked about, I do love Spencer Strider, but when Luis Castillo is at home, we have to take notice of him and the $1,600 savings. I mean, you just saw it turned our lineup from a 4 out of 10 to a whatever you want to call this one, 8.5, 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I'll give this an 8.5 out of 10. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a little bit of pop to it. I mean, you'd like to see a little bit more of some home run power if you're playing in some GPP tournaments, but you can still win it with the speed aspect there. Heim could go yard. McLean, well, he's more of a singles hitter. Young could go yard. Senzel could. Santander could. So it's not terrible. It's not terrible. I like it.
And yeah, and when you look at it too, going up against the White Sox, if Detmers is on and the White Sox struggles against lefties continue, there's a lot to like with him too. And I mean, maybe Castillo doesn't have the strikeout upside that Spencer Strider has, but there's still a very real chance for 15 to 16 plus strikeouts between these two guys. And most importantly, 2 wins.
And most importantly, 2 wins. That's definitely the high upside on there. I'll tell you what. So this is the lineup that you and I are gonna kind of weave through. If you had to pay down for a starter below Castillo, above Detmers, like let's say you wanted to get some more pop into your lineup here, you felt more comfortable with that. Is there a pay down that you would try out just so that you could get some beefier bats in there, like a Verlander or a Heaney?
It would be Verlander. I can never get the pitchers right against Detroit. I cannot. That's one offense I've not figured out yet, no matter what it ends up being. And it's not for me with them. So I'll go Verlander, hopefully for the strikeouts against Milwaukee. And that 8,300 will give you a little bit of wiggle room. But outside of that, once you get below Detmers, good luck.
Yeah. I'm not going below him there. All right. I like this lineup that we're in right now. I'm going to enter it. You know what? And I am going to use up 550 crowns in this mini max. Because I mean, everybody's got that lineup. There we go. We're locked in on that one there for our lineup. Now let's discuss a couple of other things here, Colby, before we scooch on out of here. So it was Grande's Gems and Pemba's Imprints is where it was. I tried getting creative for me and Malin when we did this on Friday.
Yeah, I heard it.
Yeah, okay. So, listen, we went with that. So I don't know. I went with Conway's Cashers here. Did you have something better that we can change it to?
Only one I had was Conway's Cornerstones, the cornerstone players of the slate.
Conway's Cornerstones. I like it. All right. It's a little lengthy. Extra couple of syllables in there, but you know what? Hey, why not? It's a Monday morning. We can definitely do that. Let's talk about it here. Let's go to Conway's Cornerstones, and we'll start off. Who is your home run call?
The guy that we were fortunate to get into the lineup is Anthony Santander.
Anthony Santander. Yeah, I'm very happy about getting him. We also have in our lineup Josh Young, who happens to be my personal favorite for that. Going up against Matthew Boyd, who has just been an absolute gas can. A gas can. Young hits lefties beautifully. What's your top stack today?
It should be everybody's top stack, Texas Rangers.
Yeah, me too. Easy peasy. What about a contrarian stack?
It's not very contrarian, but I like the Baltimore Orioles right-handed hitters, namely Adley Rutschman, Anthony Santander, those boys at the top of the order.
Yeah, it's not contrarian at all, but on a slate like this, you kind of have to do that. I think if I were to create a lineup just for shits and giggles and say, I'm just going to go against somebody, I would probably take a little shot on the Mets against Colin Rea. See if I could squeeze Pete Alonso in there. I don't love it. I don't love the team in general, but I might lean that as a contrarian stack. Star of the night for me, it's going to be Shohei Ohtani. That's why I was trying to jam into our lineup there, just because, listen, lefty hitting Shohei Ohtani against Dylan Cease, who can have his struggles with left-handed hitters. So I think Ohtani's going to have himself a big night.
Well, let's make it 2 for 2 of our stars of the night, not in our lineup that we made. Spencer Strider.
Our stars.
This can't be good. This cannot be good.
We're fading our stars of the night. Here we go. Listen, you know what, man? It's what the money is. It's the budget. It's what we're all about. Value play of the night. Where are you going?
I'm going Leody Taveras.
I like it. He's in our lineup. Wonderful. I think he does give you a nice little return value. I'm going Reed Detmers. I agree with you. I think Reed Detmers at home is a great situation. I think the Angels coming back home after this little trip to Colorado, I think they're going to be feeling good. I'm locking in Reed Detmers for this one here. So
absolutely, that's where I would have gone to, but I went Taveras, and after looking at this, I feel like I should have picked somebody not in our lineup, but alas, here we are.
No, that's it. That's our lineup, man. Well, we gotta stick with it. We gotta embrace it, love it, enjoy it. That's what it's all about. If you guys missed our lineup, well, you could rewind right here on this live stream. Or let me see if I can pop it in here for us one more time live. Probably not. It's gonna take forever.
Well, if they missed it, I'll do a quick read off here and I'll help the people out.
Here it comes. Oh, look at that. We're doing Burger King ads here, huh? Can you give me the Whopper song real quick?
Whopper, 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 Whopper.
Double burger, double Whopper.
They just say Whopper over and over. I don't know the actual words.
I don't either, but there's our lineup right there. Brought to you by Whopper and Burger King. Luis Castillo, Reed Detmers, Jonah Heim, Kevin Newman, Matt McClain, Josh Young, J.P. Crawford, Anthony Santander, Nick Senzel, Leody Taveras. Like it, love it, give it a shot, whatever you want to do, or maneuver around. We will have the DFS playbook and value plays up a little later on here in the day. But, and don't forget also, we've got our regular DFS live stream, which will be taking place at 5 p.m. Eastern. Colby, are you on that live stream at 5?
I sure am.
Well, there you go. You guys get a double dose of Colby Conway today. Who doesn't love that? But that's going to do it for us here tonight, or today, actually. For Colby Conway, I'm Howard Bender. Thanks for tuning in to the MLB DFS podcast. We'll catch you next time.